G'day guys, Jock from Harbour Marine here down at Redcliffe Marina. We've had the pleasure of being the first installers for a Vesper Cortex in Australia aboard the lovely vessel Christmas Beetle here. Christmas Beetle is a Granger 37. She's been stretched out for an additional 3. She's now about a 40, but based on a classic Granger design. Now this boat's currently undergoing an upgrade of all of our systems for an extended cruising program. So the owner has opted to go with the Vesper Cortex. Now, if you haven't seen or heard of the Vesper Cortex before, it's a combined AIS, VHF, monitoring and network bridging system. So let's get aboard and we'll check it out. So this is the Vesper Cortex M1. This is the brains of the outfit when it comes to the Vesper Cortex system. Across the top here we have our audio input output, so if you want an external speaker or something like that on the unit, it goes in there. This is our sensors input, okay? The sensor ability of this unit is what sets it apart from everything else. It has 5 general purpose input outputs across the top there, so you can set those to do whatever you want. You could have a high water alarm wired to them, your bilge pumps wired to them, an anchor light wired to them, a motion sensor wired to them. Basically, if you can sense it and think about it, you can probably set it up to work with the Vesper Cortex via the Cortex handset on the boat and your mobile phone over 4G. Also here we've got our NEMI 2000 input output, okay, or STNG if you're talking Marine World. Back on our sensors here we also have our NEMI 183 network, so this unit will translate between NEMI 183 and NEMI 2000, as well as sharing all that data between the two networks. It also shares it out to its handsets and any devices connected over its Wi-Fi, so shares bridges data across everywhere. Across the bottom there we have our wireless antenna, our GPS antenna for our external antenna, which on this boat we've mounted just up top here. Unfortunately we couldn't quite get the puck to sit down in a flush mount, in this case just a foam bridge deck, so fairly thick there. Also across the bottom there we've got our cellular antenna, so this unit does have 4G connectivity to share out to your mobile phone when you're not on the board the boat, and if you wanted extra range out of that you can fit an external antenna. The power input, the splitter output, so we are currently running our old VHF here, still connected through the splitter functionality of the M1, so that's still operational, sharing the masthead VHF antenna, and obviously the VHF antenna plugging in down the bottom there as well. So that's the brains of the unit, indicating everything is up and running except for NEMI 2000 at the moment, which we haven't connected. At the moment this is a very basic install for the M1. The owner just wants to get using the system and see how he wants to use the features and progress this install as he goes. Alrighty guys, this is the Vesper Cortex H1. It is the handset for the Vesper Cortex system. You can get it in both a cordless version like this and also a traditional corded version. This vessel will put 2 charging stations for the cordless handset, one at the nav station inside and one at the helm station outside. Now the Vesper Cortex H1 has various screens. We've got a plotter screen for all of our AIS targets, a directory for our DSC contacts, a traditional VHF, instruments, so we can display any of our instrument data, anchor watch system, a collision avoidance system, and an MOB system. Now you can see all of that information also replicated on the Vesper onboard app that you can install on your phone, with the exception of VHF. So we'll probably use the phone for the majority of this talk, just because the screen resolution is a little friendlier with our camera. But to have a quick look at the VHF functionality, we have a hot button for channel 16. We can scroll through for all our normal channels. We can program for our favorite channels down the bottom there, okay, and call in a traditional push-to-talk fashion. Now the other thing with the Vesper Cortex is it is a Class D DSC system. Traditionally, most people are used to seeing a DSC system as simply the distress call button that's on top here. But what Class D allows you to do is call vessels in a fashion similar to a telephone. So if I was looking at this target here, Zofia, okay, and I wanted to have a closer look at Zofia, I can see all of her details here in the in the AIS plotter system. If I wanted to call Zofia using a DSC call system, I can hit call, choose my channel, say 72, and press the call button. That'll initiate a DSC call to their vessel. They'll get a ringtone on their VHF, they can accept the call, and both handsets will instantly jump over to channel 72. So it sort of bypasses that channel 16 calling process and declutters channel 16. Now, Class D DSC is uncommon in Australia, but where it's really important is dealing with large international commercial traffic. Those vessels are no longer required to listen on channel 16. So quite often a Class D DSC system is the only way to raise them on VHF. So highly important if you're dealing with that sort of traffic on a regular basis. I'll just move over to the phone now as we've got better screen resolution. So on the plotter screen, we can obviously zoom in, zoom out, bring up our details of various boats. Sophia there, okay, and see all the AIS targets in range at the moment. Now this system has a fairly decent range. We can see AIS aids to navigation 23 miles away, and some of the larger ships on the outside of the Moreton Bay. The directory is for a listing of our DSC contacts. Obviously, this being a new install, we haven't favorited or liked everyone. We do have our new nearby vessels, so anything that it considers to be a risk would be listed at the top, plus anyone we have called recently. Our instruments, okay, at the moment this system hasn't been integrated in with its instrument pack as it's undergoing an upgrade, but once they're all interconnected, any instrument data that's on the system we can display on our screens on either the Vesper handset or our phones, okay, and that's all configurable. Anchor watch. So when we go in an anchor, when we drop the anchor, we hit the anchor drop button, anchor set. Now we can change our radiuses there. If the vessel drifts outside that radius, okay, we will get an alarm. Now where this is fantastic is with the mobile connectivity on this, you can leave the vessel and get an alert on your mobile phone that there is a problem and you're drifting. You know you need to return to the vessel to check it out. So we'll just weigh anchor so we don't get any alarms there. Collision avoidance, we've already shown you. It's for when you have a selected target. And the man overboard system, in the event of a man overboard, we can drop a man overboard warning, and it will show you the best return to that person to recover them. So we'll just clear that man overboard, and you can hear the handset, Vesper handset, was also repeating the alarm for that man overboard that I set on my mobile phone. So that's the basics of the Vesper Cortex, guys. As I said, where the real functionality in this system is the interconnectivity and the ability to have all this information on your phone, both on the vessel and when you're on shore. So fantastic for remote boat monitoring and keeping track of the boat when you're not aboard. Any questions, please feel free to get in contact with us at Harbour Marine. Other than that, have a great day and all the best.